Hello, welcome to the 86th episode of the SBL podcast. This is Sean Jansen filling in for the Supreme Commander, Brian. Unfortunately, he's not able to join us tonight. And on the show tonight, we have Beer Babe, our resident from Portland, Maine.
Hey, Carla Jean Lauder here. My name changed, so it used to be Carla Companion, now it's Carla Jean Lauder, still me. I am drinking a double latte, one of the Beer Camp beers from the Collaborative 12-pack. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit, but pretty good. Pretty tasty.
And also we have Norm.
Hey, how are ya? Norm Miller, the Metro West Daily News Beer Nut, Real Beer Nut on Twitter. And my name hasn't changed. So I'm drinking a Eureka with Equinox hops from Treehouse. I took a trip out there this weekend.
Ooh.
Sweet. And as mentioned, I'm Sean Jansen from twobeerguys.com. I'm currently drinking a Wachusett Green Monster IPA. In tribute to the potential trade deadline that's happening tomorrow, where we may or may not say goodbye to John Lester. Not sure at this moment.
Oh. What are you hoping for? Keeping him?
Stays.
Okay.
Reality is probably not. He's not staying.
No.
Good luck.
Just kind of getting into it. Why don't we, Carla? Did you do anything beer related in the past week?
Oh, geez. Yes. Well, this upcoming week is leading up to the Beer Camp Festival at the end of the week, so there's been a lot of planning and a lot of random just events going on, beer takeovers. But I went to a Cap takeover from Sierra Nevada that they did kind of a preview event on Saturday at Novare Res, so anybody who wasn't able to get the 12-pack of beers that they did for this festival could try them all on tap. There's a couple of other places that are doing that this week, but I hung out at Novare a little bit for that. And also, I wasn't on last week, but I went to the brand new brewery down in Saco called Barreled Souls, the one that is brewing all of their stuff and fermenting it in barrels as opposed to the traditional stainless steel. And I was actually really impressed. They opened up their debut weekend with 11 beers on tap, and none of them sucked. They were all very good, lots of variety of styles, everything from a kind of a roasty stout to a goza. So if anybody's in Saco or headed up, kind of in the southern Maine area, go check those guys out. They're right on Route 1. They're across from the Fun Town Splashdown Park or whatever it is on Route 1 in Saco. So I'm happy to welcome those guys, but I did do that, I think, between now and the last time I was on. So wanted to
Did you get an idea of how big their system was?
Small. They're brewing in 58-gallon batches because that's how big the barrels are. So they're filling up multiple barrels with one batch to ferment. I forget, I don't have my notes in front of me what the barrel size is, but they're small enough that they are making a wide variety of different beers at this point. And they successfully funded their Kickstarter. I was actually there as their Kickstarter got its amount, because what they want to do is they want to get a contract to keep a steady supply of barrels coming to them. You can't, instead of buying them, one at a time. So they were successful in that, so that'll be very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Did they offer growlers? You said.
I don't know if they're doing growlers yet, but they do have a tasting room, and their tasting room is actually really, really cool. It is got all of this furniture in there that's made out of either reclaimed wood or old barrels. It's like a basement-y kind of feel, but it's really a place where they're not going to be upset if you hang around for a couple hours. They've got like a little shuffleboard table that you can play, and cribbage boards and things. Just a real different feel from a lot of the tasting rooms that these breweries have. So I would suggest going down, stopping in, and checking out their beer.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Did you do anything else?
I'm trying to remember, but I've gone out and had beers with a few people. Chad from Chad's Beer Reviews, who's out of Albany, New York, came up the other day. He was visiting Portland, Maine for the weekend, so I gave him a little bit of advice, got a beer with him. And,
cheers to Chad.
Renee, so Chad, shout out to Chad. And I've just been drinking a lot of beer and running around trying to get my calendar together for the next couple of weeks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Norman, did you have any book signings?
No, I didn't have any book signings. A week before I did. This past weekend, last week, I went to the Jack Savvy Tap Takeover. It was their 30th anniversary. They held it at the Rail Trail Flatbread Company in Hudson, Mass. It was a total tap takeover. All 10 tap lines of Jack Savvy beers, including several versions of their Framing Hammer, and they also had their new Berliner Lager, as well as the cherry barrel aged Berliner Braun. It was a great event. It's funny because the last time I tried most Jack Savvy beers because it's 5 minutes from where I work, so I usually get a chance to try them all. But last time the Framing Hammer peanut butter and jelly version came out, I had pneumonia. I was never able to make it out, so I missed that one, and I tried it at the Tap Takeover. It was fantastic. It was a great event, good turnout. That was good. And then on Saturday, I made the
Was it a big space that it was in?
It's no like flatbread. It's weird. I actually was surprised. It it's really not big enough to handle a crowd the size that went. Yet they did a really good job of getting people the beer and everything they needed. It's a relatively long, narrow space.
Okay.
Instead of like wider. So, but I was actually really impressed by how fast the bartenders and the wait staff actually really got the beer out to the people. I mean, there was hardly any wait, so that was good. And then on Saturday, I made the trip out to Monson, Mass, and visited Treehouse. I'm writing an article for Craft Beer Brewing Magazine, so I got to interview all the founders and hang out at the brewery, try some of the beers. They broke ground on the new brewery they're building on site at the farm up there. Right now, they have a 5-barrel brewing system, and now they're going to be moving into a 9,000 square foot brewery, which will have a 30-barrel brewing system, which is basically going to be used for Julius. If you've never tried Julius, it's a fantastic IPA, and people just can't wait for it. People line up out the door before the place even opens. So the 30-barrel system, they're calling it the Julius machine. Basically, 2 tons of Julius, and they'll be able to use.
They should have it painted orange.
Yeah, I know, but they'll be able to use like the regular system they already have now. They'll be able to do more one-offs and more experimental things because so many people want Julius. This will allow them to serve both purposes. So it was really cool. It's a good place. I don't know if you ever have a chance to go there, I recommend it. It's on a farm. You can buy corn and whatever other veggies they have, and they have fantastic beer. Dean and Tyler, 2 of the founders. Tyler's a brewer, and Dean is Dean. No other brewery has a Dean. When I got there, they're sitting there in the middle of the tasting room just playing guitar, singing music because they had like a 2-minute break between the lines. It was cool.
That's neat.
That's pretty neat. Did you get an idea of like how far they may be distributing, or do you think they're going to be just more so Western / Central Mass?
I don't know if they know quite yet. They're waiting to see how it is. I mean, they technically get to Boston for a couple bars like Lord Hobo and Public House, Armsby Abbey and Worcester, and a couple places closer. But that's very rare that they can even get enough beer. I mean, the tasting rooms open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and they usually sell out of everything they have available. So they don't usually get that many kegs, even like a 6-tel of a log to send out to any of these bars. I think maybe once every couple of months, one of the kegs will go to the bar or something like that. So they're hoping to do more after they open the brewery, of course. They're not going to be finished building it till December, and they won't get their equipment till next year. So they'll probably know more. It might not increase how many places get it. It just might increase the frequency that, like, if you go to like Armsby Abbey and Worcester or the Public House, that they might have it on tap, more likely than they have it now.
Right.
That's sort of the ultimate business plan, to be able to create a brewery that you could basically sell everything direct and not have enough to sell anywhere else.
I know.
That's almost what Bissell Brothers is doing at this point. I mean, they have a canning run. They can on Wednesdays, and then they give like a couple cases to Beer Cellar, a couple cases to a couple other places, but then basically 15 minutes before the brewery opens, and they're done. They sell out of their cases in an hour, and that's it. So then they have to wait until next week until they can more. It's kind of ridiculous. But I guess you don't have to go very far. People come to you and wait in line 15 minutes before you open to get your beer. So.
Yeah, I have to give Treehouse credit. They do a good thing. Instead of, you go to a lot of the smaller breweries that have, like, they open like a couple days a week and there's a long line. You just sit there waiting and waiting in line like a queue. They actually have these cards. You fill them out. You give them to the tasting room guy. You can go walk around. You can go to the farm. You can go down the street to an ice cream stand or something like that, and they'll fill up as you go, so you don't have to just stand there waiting. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so it's kind of cool. So, like I filled up my cards before I did my interviews. But I finished my interviews, just walked up to the bar, and they handed me my 2 growlers, and I took off.
That's awesome. See, yeah, and the one thing that Bissell Brothers does that I do like is that they don't just sell out all of it on one day. They will say, okay, we're selling 3 cases today, 3 cases tomorrow, 3 cases on Friday. So if you can't get down there on a Wednesday, you have a chance of getting beer, which is kind of nice because they spread it out. It's not just, whoever's working from home and not doing shit other than standing in line to get beer,
Carla, in the reference to Bissell Brothers, are you seeing or hearing that there's a standout beer or more than one
right
beer?
now, at the very moment, Bissell Brothers is only canning 1 beer right now. Actually, in next week or 2 weeks, it's like the 8th or something, they're releasing their second beer, which is going to be called Baby Genius, which is going to be a little bit more on the kind of Belgian-y side. It's not as hoppy. It's definitely like a blonde ale. I don't know if it's a Belgian blonde, but it's a blonde. It's lighter. But their main beer, the Substance, is an IPA, and it is just incredibly popular here. People are going nuts for it. It's in the tall boy cans. Looks like an energy drink.
Oh, cool.
And they sell 4-packs of it, and you can't find it. Like, people come up here and they go, "Oh, I heard this is really good." It's just not here. So they did well in choosing one good beer to stick with and do well, and then expanding when they can. So I don't know what the availability of the second beer is going to be, like if they're going to do that year round or if it's going to be a small batch or what yet. But if you see any from them that's the Substance, snag it because it is quite good.
That's cool.
Yeah. I like seeing breweries do different things. Some of them, Barreled Souls opens with 11 different beers, and Bissell Brothers starts with 1, and they're both doing really well. So, there are different ways to attack this business, different models.
Yeah, I was I'm sure I'm actually what I'm trying to do is like look up on Rate Beer to see what their scores were.
Bissell made the top something.
Top million, top 50. No.
But I believe Stoneface, which is the new brewery out of the Newington area, their IPA is like an 87 or an 88 on BA and Rate Beer, which is pretty crazy.
Brothers is the 96.
Yeah.
Nuts.
It's funny when you look at it. We look at their beers on BA. The reviews for that it's like 201, but for any other beer that they have is like 1,302.
Oh, for Bissell?
Yeah, for Bissell.
Yeah, because they literally all the other beers were out for like 5 minutes. They made tiny batches like that. The Heartstrings they released on one night for one event and it was gone.
Oh wow.
So they are 99% of their time devoted to the Substance. All these little other things are very, very, very quick. And the Baby Genius that's listed on there is the pilot batch of what's going to be actually released in can.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Stoneface is actually listed as a 98 for just a correction there. My weekend was, unless you had anything else, Norm?
No, I almost set.
My weekend, Saturday actually went to 2 Brewfests. Saturday during the day, I went to the Granite State Brewers Festival in Manchester, which was at Arms Park, right bottom of the hill from where Millie's is. I think there was I think there's 35 registered breweries in New Hampshire right now. It was like 27 or 28 that were in attendance. It was a pretty hot day. I actually walked in after it started a little bit, and at the same time I was walking in was Mr. Scott Brown, which I thought was kind of funny because I've been to 2 festivals this year where Scott Brown was at. Selections of beers were great. I think some of the breweries actually kicked their beers, I think around like between 3 and 3:30, and the festival went till 5 o'clock. So it was a kind of a different thing where you tried to get some stuff before it was actually gone. There was the newest brewery there, I believe, is called Lone Wolf, which they're in the Wolfboro area. It was his first ever festival. I felt a little bad for him. His jockey box system was pouring a bit foamy, and it was having a bit of trouble. So a bunch of people were helping him out, trying to fix it and giving him pictures and stuff like to be able to pour it. But other than that, there was some great beers. I think one of my favorite beers was a Flanders Red by Flying Goose.
Ooh, I didn't know they made a fun beer. That's cool.
Yeah, it was really delicious. I mean, there was so many beers there that were like the good old New Hampshire beers and or from a lot of the newer breweries. So it's hard to say what's your favorite, but I mean, it was the sours usually catch my attention pretty good.
Yeah, me too. Anybody who ends up brewing something that's not your typical, it's a brown and a pale ale and a stout, like those are the ones that make me kind of raise my eyebrows and go, you're making a what? Like Barreled Souls came out with those right out the gate. It's like, what? So I like it when people experiment. Oh, speaking actually of sours, if I may segue, Austin Street Brewing, another one of the little guys up in Industrial Way across the street from Allagash there, is having their beer camp's happening on Saturday or on Friday, and on Saturday Austin Street's hosting Brett Camp, so they're releasing all their Britannomyces fermented beers, which is going to be fun. So yes, we see you, Norm.
Okay.
And but all of the brewers that can take something like a Flanders Red and do it well, like they give me hope, and I have a lot of respect for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and Norma, thanks for coming back and joining.
No problem.
We're just still talking about what I was doing on Saturday. So the first half was the Grin State Brewers Fest, and then the second half is actually left in. I came down to Newburyport. I live like right next door. I went to the Yankee Homecoming Brew Fest. But that one I was actually working. I helped out with Baxter, pouring some beers, and it was a fun time. The place was packed.
Yeah.
It was definitely packed. It's right in the waterfront. Actually, both of them were in the waterfront. The Manchester one was on the waterfront too. So it was like a great Brewfest day from beginning to end for me.
There's been some really good beer weather lately. You know, the sit outside, glass in hand, chill out, 70 degrees and sunny. I am digging that. And I actually forgot to mention last week, there were actually a whole bunch of Goose Island events happening in Portland.
We talked about it because I went to the migration on Monday.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'll skip that, but I went to a couple events up here. Good guys, good beer, and it was just nice to see a lot of different ways to engage with audiences. They had a tap takeover at Slab. They had painting night where they invited a bunch of women to one of those paint bars where you all try to paint the same thing, and we were painting a bottle of Sophie, which is kind of cool. And it was fun, but it was really nice to see their beer.
Special Bourbon County or Henry?
Yeah, we got all of that. We got the proprietor. We got all of the crazy crap was floating around town. I didn't have a ton of it because a lot of the stuff happened on a weekday. But the proprietor, the barley wine, the one that was coconutty, the one that was fermented, there was a lot.
Yeah, on Monday night.
Yeah.
I had the barley wine, Juliet.
Oh yeah, I had Juliet.
Coffee.
That was the one.
2013 regular.
Yeah, Jillian's
just,
the one that was
just 2013 regular. It was delicious.
Nice. Yeah, they still. I mean, for being owned by AB, they are doing really well with their barrel program, and all of that stuff is still incredibly delicious. So I have no qualms about drinking AB-owned beer when it's coming from them. So here's that.
Before we get into our first article tonight, I just want to say hello to Johnny Beer, who's our chat participant tonight. So he's been asking us some questions already, and we'll get to that at some point. But I wanted to talk to to everyone tonight about the press release that we received from the Brewers Association, where they announced that craft beer sales are up 18% through June 2014. The Brewers Association reported mid-year growth for the country's small and independent craft breweries. According to the latest data, craft brewery production is up 18% through the first 6 months of 2014. Through June, BA, the Brewers Association, defined craft brewers have sold about 10.6 million barrels of beer, up from 9 million barrels of beer in 2013.
That's so.
As of June 30th, the Brewers Association has counted 3,040 operating breweries with over, drumroll is, 1,929 more breweries in.
It's ridiculous. And it's awesome.
What do you say about that, Normie?
The one question I have about that, and I couldn't get an answer before, is does that number reflect the addition of the breweries that they named crafty last year, then redefined this year
Yes.
as being part of it?
One of the graphs had the whole bar graph going up and had a different color for the ones that were now classified as craft that weren't before, so they had corrected for it.
Okay. So I'm wondering how much of the growth if Yuengling and a few of the others weren't there. I don't know what that number is. So, because Yuengling obviously adds tons.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, but what's interesting to me is that they keep talking about the numbers growth, like the number of breweries. But it was nice to see some volume and some sales info come with this too, because you can have 3,000 breweries, but if they're all brewing on one barrel systems, that's not really making a dent in what's going on, you know. So it's nice to hear the kind of that percentage growth in volume and production is an interesting one. I mean, one of the things I was going to bring up later, you know, even breweries like Allagash have been brewing since 1996, still expanding. They just announced a gigantic expansion. They're upping their capacity. They're getting bigger. You know, even though they've been established for a while, you got Stone building breweries all over the freaking world now. You know, it's nice to see the capacity happening, in addition to just every little town getting a teeny little brewery.
Now, Carla, do you have a sense of the number of how many breweries there are in Maine?
Yes, there are currently 53. 54 as will happen in probably about 2 weeks. There's another brewery opening up in the middle of nowhere in 2 weeks.
Do you feel that you could handle 75 in Maine?
I think we could handle 75. I think there's a lot of communities that are not served by breweries right now, because what we have is we have three or four big breweries, and then we have a lot of teeny guys. So we've got Shipyard is obviously huge. They're distributing all over the country. We've got Allagash, which is distributing a lot, but in a lot of states, but not a huge ton of volume other than, you know, Allagash White sending it from Los Angeles and whatnot. You know, so they're in 14 states, but they're only sending, you know, a limited amount of their stuff out of the state. But then you've got Gritty's, Geary's, and to a lesser extent Sebago, kind of in the New England area. And then everybody below that is like, you know, those are their, you know, volume numbers for the guys I just talked about. Everybody else takes up this much in the whole rest of the spectrum. So even Baxter Brewing, that's growing hugely, is still nowhere near the volume of Shipyard. So I think we could probably have 100 breweries if we keep adding these smallish ones that are in an area. Like we have them opening in places like Liberty, Maine, and Limerick, and all these places that it's really a destination. You go there, you get your growler fill. It's, you know, really centric on that location. Maybe they've got a couple of kegs kicking around in the bigger cities, but we've got plenty of capacity left. The thing I worry about, and I've said this before, is that if you're all trying to compete in Portland, though, the tap space is limited. So if you've got 75 breweries and 5 local taps, you know, that's a fight, and that's different than a volume fight. It's different than a, you know, packaging and shipping outside of state kind of a thing. So I think there's plenty of room to grow, and especially the ones that are packaging their beer. Like if Bissell Brothers is a good example.
As long as you don't have like 30 more breweries trying to open up in Portland.
Yeah, no. Portland, if you're going to do tap only, Portland is really going to be hard to break into pretty soon. But if you want to go can your beer, or if you want to go, you know, bottle in 750s or something like that. Plenty of room. People will do that.
Carla, look at PDX.
I know.
Right? I bet when they were at, so what's in Portland? 15? Are there 15 breweries in Portland?
Yeah, in the greater Portland area, about 12 to 15, something like that.
Right? And now PDX has 40.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. And if you expand it just a little further, it's 96 or something like that.
But what may happen to that is that the number of taps will actually have to increase.
Right, which is
There'll have to be more restaurants. There'll have to be more places that are going to be serving it.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those, evolutionary arms races, right? Like, there's too much crowding, and that might pull back a couple of breweries, but then the demand for it, at the restaurant level, the customers who want more choice are going to be pushing for that. But it is harder for a, say you're a restaurant that only has 5 taps. You're not going to go out, and buy a 20-tap system unless you're really, going to start investing in doing that. But what you might do is you might say, okay, well, 3 out of those 5, maybe I'll make those local. Okay, maybe I'll make the 4th one local. So it's going to be in smaller chunks. But I think people who are opening new places are realizing immediately that needs to be part of what they do because it's part of the culture here. Like Slab that just opened has something like 18 taps, and they're all crazy and interesting. So it's evolving, but it's going to evolve in little fits and starts, I think. It's going to be a little
at the same time, there's the opportunity that there's going to be only certain places you're going to get certain beers.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want X beer, you're going to go to this place. You want that beer, you're going to go to the other place.
You could go the exclusivity route, right? That could be a way that breweries or bars and restaurants compete with each other. We're the only place you can get Oxbow on tap. We're the only place you can get,
such and such on tap, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways that it can spin, but I don't think we're even close to capacity. The whole people freaking out about 3,000. I'm not freaking out about 3,000 at all.
The interesting thing too, though, is that the estimate, which is kind of another cool number we didn't mention yet, but it's estimated that with these breweries that are currently in operation, there's over 110,000 full-time and part-time workers.
Woohoo! That's awesome.
That's right.
Which many of those are manufacturing jobs, where if you watch South Park and you see all the jobs going other countries, it's nice to say that nice to see that manufacturing jobs are actually coming back home and going to stay home because you really, you can't outsource the love that's created in there.
Yeah, the Maine Brewers Guild did a thing that said that, for 2013, that they employed over 1,500 workers, and the beer business in Maine generated $35.5 million of revenue, which is crazy. The Maine's lobster catch was $340 million. If that's it's a tenth of what the lobster industry is doing, but it's a tenth of what the lobster industry is doing. I don't know. I think that's really cool. And then they just talk about how it's poised for growth, and that what I'm happy about is that studies like that make it easier to push through laws that make it easier for this to happen. Because you go, look, if it's easier for all these things to happen, then you're going to have more business, you're going to have more jobs, you're going to have more economic. So I'm looking forward to more of our crappy laws being changed. But we already got a couple of few changed. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, Norm, I know that you get a bit of beer sent to you every now and then, and I have a question about Flying Dog Brewery, which we all know had moved from Colorado to Maryland within the last 10 years. They've recently been pulling out of states, meaning even in New Hampshire. Once the beer in New Hampshire is gone, a Flying Dog, there's probably not going to be a new order for quite some time. So if you like Flying Dog, get it when you see it, because you're not going to have it for a while.
Yeah.
But they made an agreement with Old Bay. It's called. I'm sorry.
Old Bay Seasoning, yeah.
Yeah, Old Bay Seasoning, made by McCormick and Company.
Yeah.
Have you tried Dead Rise?
No.
I have not, but it's funny. I was just talking to a couple people on Twitter about it earlier. I saw someone trying it, and I've had Old Bay Seasoning, and I've had Flying Dog, and Old Bay Seasoning is fine on crabs. I just can't imagine it being a greatest ingredient for a beer, but I can't say it for sure 'cause I haven't had a chance to try it.
Yeah,
Where can I get some of that? I want to try that.
close
Maryland?
to Maryland, right?
Maryland. I don't go down there enough anymore.
So the Old Bay seasoning has 18 herbs and spices, including
Yeah.
celery salt, red and black pepper, paprika. I mean, in a beer?
Spice rack. I mean,
Is it gonna be like a whatever the tomato juice thing? Because I mean,
they're using the actual seasoning. They're not using the individual ingredients, I don't think.
okay.
So I mean, it's going
But
to
that
taste.
could be like I've had like a basil saison. You know, like if you do it right. I mean,
Yeah, well, I have to say, like, I have had like
saison buff have like 100 million things in it. To me, that tasted like what was that? It was the dogfish. You remember saison buff? That had a ton of spices in it.
yeah. You know what it is? It's funny. I don't like drinking that. Like it's out now, but I want to drink it at Thanksgiving with my turkey because it tastes like
Right,
stuff.
there you go. Hey, I want to put all day on my turkey. That's a fabulous idea. Why don't people do that? Sorry.
I'm very smart. That's why I thought about it first. But
Always thinking, Normie. Always.
well, food and beer. But
You
no,
mean-
I mean, you know, it's funny. I like Flying Dog. I never buy it for some reason. I just thinking about it. But yeah, I haven't had. I don't even know if that beer made it to Massachusetts. And
No, I don't think it has. It's the crazy thing. I mean, this article goes on to say that this beer was pretty much new last year, and that they focused 65% of their overall production to make this one beer to meet
Wow.
Maryland's demand.
That's crazy.
yeah, I mean,
Are they just cooking crabs with it? Like what? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had it on crab cakes and crabs down there. That's the only time I can ever remember having Old Bay seasoning.
Now I really want crabs. It's not fair.
Go down to
Yeah,
Maryland. Baltimore's fantastic.
We're definitely going to have to give that a try.
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
if someone, I'll say this: if there's someone from the Beer Bloggers Conference from Maryland, I'll see you in San Diego. If you can, a couple bottles, I'll bring it home to share with the team.
That would be fun. It's sad I can't go this year. Sad.
Yeah, you'll be missed.
Mm.
Just a quick one. We've sort of talked about last week. Like did we talk a little bit about Berlin?
Not
No.
really. We put it off until this week.
We were gonna, and Brian was gonna be here. Guess what? We're gonna talk about it without him.
Talking about it with
so,
Brian.
So as everyone saw it last week, Stone Brewing decided that, well, not decided, they finally picked their European location, which is Berlin, Germany, which I was reading a couple things that kind of made me think about how they're going to be received, because, you know, they've got a big history of brewing tradition with Reinheitsgebot and the Purity, where basically Stone is like anything that you can imagine that is not Reinheitsgebot.
Actually, most of the beers are.
Actually, yeah, they're not crazy ingredient tossers.
Most of the
They're
beers are. I
extreme
mean,
beer makers. Like they will put a like obscene amount of things in things.
yeah, it doesn't go against the beer purity laws. You
Like
can put
ruination is just like a hop oil coating your tongue kind of a beer, but it doesn't have any other shit in it.
It's just the taste. I remember what they're used to in Germany. I remember a few years ago, you know how Harpoon does the 100 Barrel series?
Yeah.
They had a brewer from Germany who did an internship at Harpoon. His family owned a brewery, so he went back and started running the brewery. They came back and brewed a beer. I can't remember what the style was. It was like a local style to that region of Germany. And I remember they were talking. I did the tasting with them, and the brewer was like, "Well, it's really good, but it's really hoppy." And I was like, "Hoppy?" And like, "What's the IBUs?" 21 on this one. And it's like 21 was too hoppy for them.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
For the taste, it's not that. But I actually had read recently that not a lot, but a few smaller like German breweries and towns that are started by younger people are doing like IPAs with German ingredients. So I mean, maybe there's a market there that for people underserved and Stone. I mean, I hope it succeeds for him because it's going to cost him tons of money. So I hope it works out for him.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to have like an IPA infused with like a Rausch beer, like a nice hybrid there, where that'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah. Honestly, aside from, I don't care. Unless I go to Germany, I don't care that they're opening a brewery in Germany, but I think it's kind of cool. The other thing that came out, though, that they're going to be announcing probably within the next month the new East Coast brewery. Yep. And apparently, they're one of the few brewers that aren't going to North Carolina. So they eliminated...
Or South Carolina.
Huh?
Or South Carolina.
Yeah, they eliminated the Carolinas, so it's going to be interesting to see. That I'm a little more excited about, because just being able to get more and more fresh Stone is great. I love Stone beer.
Honestly, so I just want another place where I can go to that beer garden without having to go all the way to San Diego. Like, I don't even, I think I've got enough Stone in my market. I can buy Stone when I want to, but they have a cool thing going on with the way that they do their whole, they have a really cool perspective. I don't necessarily want them in Portland, though. I don't think they're the Portland type. They should go to Maryland, or they should be in Philly.
Worcester, Massachusetts.
Worcester, yeah.
Laws. Isn't that the reason that? Well, the thing is, one of the things that they said was preventing them, or from wanting to be, in South Carolina, is that they had to change all kinds of laws to do.
The laws changed already.
Yeah, but they changed the laws.
But there are lots of. It's one of those things that it's either a welcoming environment for you to come in, or an environment where you have to sit there and change everything.
But how more welcome is that the state goes out of the way to change the law to try to attract you to go there?
Yeah, which is nice, and it's nice for the state. But I don't know. To me, that would be a red flag of oh wow, you don't even have a law that lets you do brew pubs. You do now, but what the f?
I think they'll end up somewhere good.
I think all the people. Well, I don't know, but from what I read, all the people in South Carolina that changed the law are very happy.
Oh yeah.
That Stone had offered to come in or tried to come in, and that the law changed to try to bring that business into it, because really everybody that was operating there to begin with has a bigger opportunity now.
Oh, absolutely. We had that disastrous crap go on with the festival, the Shelton Brothers thing, but that changed our laws about how to hold festivals and stuff. So it's what?
You would have never got beer camp without it.
No, it's a very sometimes you need something to react to change a law, because if it's just there and everybody's grumbling about it is different than, hey, we could have more economic possibilities if this was better.
Did you see the festival is going to be in LA this year?
I did. I saw that. You know what actually made me think of it, though, is that, or the thought that I had was that, because I've gone to the past two, I was like, oh, do you think I could actually fly out there just to go to the festival?
You're having a sale on Jet Blue right now. I'm not. It's
but
cheap.
I'm going to the Bars Conference, so it's kind of I can't juggle both of it. But just to say I went to all three festivals would be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
It kind of, maybe they need maybe they'll fly me out there and I'll just go work for them for a day or something like that.
There you go.
Bring a little New England spirit to LA with the Shelton Brothers.
There you go. That'll work.
Yeah. If you happen to listening to the show, please send me a message on Twitter
or a plane ticket.
Just send a plane ticket to my house and I'll be there.
Right.
I don't really care what the date is.
A couple days notice and a plane ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
Pack yourself up in a box and just ship yourself FedEx.
Yeah.
Yeast samples.
Exactly. I'll put Fragile on the outside and I'll be broken by the time I get there.
Gets in there.
Hey, what comes with the good, and talking about all these different breweries opening and everything, that's all the excitement, is also the other side of the coin. We got an article right here that talks about that I don't know how long they've been around for.
They've been around for a long time. That's actually one of my papers from my newspaper company. So
take it away, Norm. I've been
following this for a while now. I'm friends with a lot of the brewers there, it really just comes down to money. They've been around for close to 20 years. They really are like one of the early brew pubs in
We're
Boston.
talking about Watch City because we haven't.
Watch City
Yeah.
But I mean, they really are one of the early pioneers in the greater Boston area for brewing. They've been around forever. They've been doing fantastic stuff. Matt, I still not pronounce his name, even though I've known him for about 10 years now.
Mikulachuk.
Yeah, he's been a brewer for years. Kelly McKnight and Lee Lord were the assistant brewers. Unfortunately, they're all gone now. I mean, Kelly McKnight is actually at New Belgium. She recently started out there, but it's all came down to money. They owe a lot of back taxes. The building's in disrepair. They haven't had a good heating or cooling system for a couple of years now. It's a really old brewing system. I know they sold it all today at an auction for $44,000 to someone who runs a farm in Barre, Mass. So it looks like it's gonna be a brewery out there or something with all their equipment. But I kind of feel bad. I mean, I've been going to Watch City for years. We've had many a going away party from coworkers there. So it's like one of those places.
Post after party there. Had beers there before and stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been a lot of quality issues the last couple of years, but overall, I mean, I always been a fan of the place. A kind of sad thing to see a long-time brewery like that go. I hope something else goes in there. I know there had been some rumors about Beer Works. I was actually approached by someone at one of my signings saying he could have bid in for it, but apparently it fell through because everything's gone now. So it's a sad, sad day.
Yeah.
They've been closed for weeks. I know employees hadn't been being paid. I know ingredients have stopped being purchased. So hopefully the employees can get at least the money they're owed. And hopefully the brewers can hook on to other places. Like I said, Kelly McKnight, who had been brewing there for a few years now, is now at New Belgium in Colorado. So hopefully the other two brewers can get someplace and continue their brewing careers.
Yep. Sad to see. I've still got a growler from them, as a matter of fact, that I think you gave me. So.
No, I have to get rid of it now.
Yep. Maybe I'll just sand it off, and then I can.
Well, if you take up home brewing, you can use it to give it to someone.
There you go. Vintage.
Okay. That was I had been to Watch City a bunch of times too myself, and
yeah. Like I said, it was interesting though because I thought it'd be a lot of brewers at the auction buying different pieces of equipment, and apparently every single piece was bought by one person.
Wow.
So maybe there'll be a new brewery going on a farm in Barre. So.
Where is that?
Barry's kind of south of Worcester, very south of it's the middle of nowhere. There's a lot of farms, not a lot else going on there, but farm breweries can work. So hopefully,
yeah, they can. Look at Oxbow.
They have one of the old Peter Austin brewing systems.
Yeah. I didn't even do something like that. That's ridiculous. That's a lot of.
I don't know if they bought that part or just all the tanks and everything.
Right.
Brick lined.
Yeah. So.
You know, we were just talking about Germany a little bit. Last week there was an article that came up and it didn't actually make it in the show too. There was that actually affected another U.S. actually a West Coast brewery in Europe. Last week the Green Flash Brewery announced a collaboration with Saint Fulian in Belgium, and they're going to use basically the Belgian-based brewery is going to produce, bottle, and ship their West Coast IPA throughout Europe. So kind of on the same conversation we just had about Stone kind of introducing their flair into the German market. At the same time, Green Flash is going to be kind of taking that same approach, but more so, I guess, on a pure contract level, where they've made a partnership and they've gone there, worked with them on their system to produce the beer. And they expect that at the beginning to sell between about 1,500 to 2,000 barrels of beer, um, which is a lot of beer.
That is a lot of beer.
It makes sense. I mean, West Coast IPAs are, it's not going to survive the trip and still be great over in Europe. So it makes sense. Partner with a good brewery that they know they can trust to do it right. A good way to get your beer over there without having a major investment. Yeah, I think it's a good, cool idea. Let the more American craft brews over there see how people like it.
Yeah, and especially the hoppy stuff, you want it as fresh as you can get it. So it's better to do it there than it is to pack it up and make it all stale and ship it out. So I'm all for it. It's interesting to me that we have these two parallel stories of basically Europe having enough demand for an American style or American breweries to make this kind of investment worth it. I think it's an interesting trend.
It's like Brooklyn Brewery. They have that partnership with Carlsberg.
Mm-hmm.
They have Brooklyn, I think it's a Brooklyn brewery restaurant in, I think, Denmark, I think it is. So.
Yep. Interesting.
Hey, just moving on topics. I believe, Norm, when we first started, you started chatting about a potential new show that you may have seen on the History Channel.
Yeah, last night on History, Dark Horse Nation, which features Dark Horse Brewing Company from Michigan, debuted. It's a half-hour-long reality show. It's going to be on 12 episodes, I think it is, on Tuesday nights at 10 o'clock. To be fair, I don't watch reality shows, so I'm going to come at this from someone who doesn't watch reality shows. I'm not sure if I liked it or not. I think it falls in between not enough beer for the hardcore beer geeks who watch it just because of the brewery. I'm not sure if it's too much beer for people who don't really care much about beer, but they like reality shows. But again, I don't watch like Duck Dynasty. I don't watch.
So what did they do? Like most of those reality shows, they take on a specific scenario. Like I'm thinking of the Dogfish Head one, where they take on like, okay, here's a day's work, and then they're like, and a drama moment, like, oh no, blah blah blah. Like, did they do that, or like, what were they doing?
Aaron Morris, who runs Dark Horse,
yeah,
he's kind of known as being a little eccentric. Like he comes up with like inventions in his head, and they do them at the brewery. So the first episode is that they talk about how much beer they lose every time they dry hop because they can't get all the beer out because they have to drain out the hops. So he creates this whole long thing. So it's how it's creating this new device so they can dry hop so they don't lose a barrel and a half of beer every single time they brew a batch, which is fine. That's the beer part. But the other part is they live in like the country area of Michigan, and they all like to go shooting and hunting and everything like that. Well, their brewer is from a city, and apparently he's never every time they went hunting, he's never shot anything. So the other part of the show is him trying to learn from one of the guys how to shoot so he can win a contest that Saturday to prove that he can shoot, and it's working both things. And they had 2 episodes last night, the same thing. The second one, their bottling machine is an old German brewing bottling machine that very temperamental, will cost like 6 figures to replace, so they have to keep working on it. So that's the beer part. The other part is they like to ice fish, and they decided to build this mobile ice hut to go on to Lake Michigan, and they're building this giant ice hut on the back of this truck that they put tank tracks on. This inside of the ice hut has taps, it has blenders so they can do like margaritas. They have a flat screen TV. They have a dartboard. They have a heater. They have fish finder. So it's mixing both. And I'm just not sure if it serves either audience enough that who'd want it. And I'm not sure. And like I said, I just don't watch much reality TV. The closest thing I watch to reality TV is The Ultimate Fighter and Brew Dogs.
I was gonna say, yeah. So is it like Junkyard Wars and Brewmasters? Like
I don't watch Junkyard Wars, so I can't But
Junkyard is basically they let you go in a junkyard and you have to it's like you need to build a bicycle and they give you random parts and crap.
Like how they really are. I actually interviewed Aaron Morrison, one of the other people this week about the show, and it's just I don't know. I just don't watch reality TV to know enough if there's enough of both to serve the audience. Like Brew Dogs is all about the beer, so it attracts beer people obviously. And this one, I know their goal is to get beyond just the beer people, because History Channel is bigger than Esquire Network, and it's hard to support a show based on just the beer audience. Still not enough for a big network to support like all their stuff, so advertising rates and stuff. So I noticed there was a lot of Miller Genuine Draft commercials during the show.
Like just a reminder what real beer is.
Yeah, just talking about the cast. The cast is the owner, as you mentioned, Aaron Morse.
Yep.
Wacky Morse, who's Aaron's father.
Who did not appear in either of the first 2 episodes.
Okay. Then they have Cabe, which is head of maintenance. He can build anything.
Yep. He's the one that built a giant dry hop tube and then was working on the machine.
Yeah. And then there's Wiggs, who's the head of brewery operation.
He's a city boy who doesn't know how to shoot.
Okay. And then there's Chappie, head of shipping and receiving.
He's a gun nut.
Yeah. You've seen their tap handle, right?
Yeah.
Their tap handle is basically like a shotgun.
What's the tap handle?
Say it again, Carla?
I'm not familiar. What's the tap handle?
It's a shotgun. It's a double-barreled shotgun with a sheriff sitting on it.
Yeah. I think it probably has potential, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you're going to be seeing like Dark Horse Nation blankets in Walmart like you see with Duck Dynasty or not. So.
They got the beards.
They do have the beards. I was very impressed and almost jealous.
Yeah.
Speaking of beards, did you see that thing I posted earlier about the hop-infused beer goo?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, so there's like beer wax and whatever comes in a tin. Somebody put out, we can put the link in the show notes. And they put out a hop infused one so that your beer can be all nice and shiny and smell like hops at the same time. I am so happy about this. It's stupid, but it's.
So when you grow your beard in when you get older, you can use it, or?
Oh, so I can have a beard that smells like hops.
That's not a beard. That's a growth.
Okay, it's a goatee. It's not a beard, I know, but still, no, it was so sorry, not to stray off the topic there, but good use for hops. Good use for hops.
Norm, do you know when it's on?
Tuesday nights at 10 o'clock on the History.
Okay. Be there or be square.
On the History Channel, which has very little history on it anymore.
It's funny. I was happy the show was coming on. But I was very disappointed it was on History Channel. I used to love watching a lot of stuff on history. Now it's all about aliens and
like super volcanoes and like shit that's gonna kill you and
history anymore.
It's so bad.
It's like folklore or whatever the crap it is. It's just not real TV anymore.
Yeah, it's all super natural and whatever you call it, pseudoscience and crap. It's weird.
That's perfect. It's crap science.
Yeah, which makes me sad because like History and the Learning Channel and Discovery are supposed to be about history, learning, and discovery, and none of the 3 of them are about any of that anymore. But when I was a kid, like you used to be able to turn on the History Channel and learn about war, and you turn on the Discovery Channel and learned about the world, and it's just it has changed. And
it has nothing to do with the show. I just wish that would be a good show for Discovery. Like discovering about beer. So that's good. But history... Foxy, shut up.
Right, because history is turned into the weird reality shows channel.
Yeah.
Just moving on for a moment. As you guys may or may not have already become a Cicerone at their different levels, recently the... a Ray Daniels group out of Chicago has announced that they've started a Cicerone course series where you could take their online study program and course and basically become, eventually, after finishing all of the courses. I mean, the goal is to become a certified master cicerone. This is kind of, to me, I don't know what you guys think about it. It's kind of it's kind of revolutionary, and it's taking beer to that next step of a sommelier and kind of bringing in sort of a course material to be able to attain that from start to beginning. I mean, you got to do your homework. It's one of the most difficult things to obtain, but the course kind of sets you up to put you in the right direction for getting all that education.
Because nobody knows how to study anymore. I mean, I'm all for, there being more education in beer, and it's basically turning into more of a course than a body of knowledge that you are responsible of learning, which is totally fine. But it's just, I think it's a symptom of the fact that, if you give somebody a body of knowledge and say, learn this, you're going to be tested on it. People suck at doing that now. They're terrible at it. So it's one of those things that, I think it's worth the time, but I think maybe just some people need that additional structure. They need this is how you prep, here's what you need to build on, that type of thing. So it's just, I think it's a symptom of that. I don't even think it has much to do about beer. I think it has to do about how people learn and how people learn on their own. I don't think they have a lot of motivation to, spend hours hitting the books for something like that, and they don't do it effectively, certainly. I don't know. That's my education rant. I'll stop. I'll get off that now.
I mean, it's great that you learn all about this stuff, but I just, I never really had any interest in taking the Cicerone test, and I don't really care if someone takes it. I mean, I just want my beer. I mean, you go to the store, all our employees are Cicerone. I was like, who cares? Just get me my beer.
What I do like is, though, that if you want to be a business that employs people that know about beer, it's a good way to know that they all have the same baseline education.
No, I think it's great, but it just seems like it's become an obsession with a lot of people now. They're like
I'm not Cicerone certified. I have no accreditation in that way. But I know a lot about beer. But it's interesting. But I think that there's definitely a need for these programs to exist. But yeah.
I have taken the Cicerone server training or test,
Did you?
Which is it's really good stuff just to know. Some of the thing about it is that if you're not brewing in doing it day to day, sometimes you have to. You have to learn somehow, right? So, so by the Cicerone offering the opportunity for someone to get an education course, it's not like you can go to the library and say, okay, give me a book on everything that I would ever want to know about beer. So
actually, Bernstein's The Complete Beer Course is pretty good. But yeah.
Which one?
The beer course. It's
Bernstein's The Complete Beer Course.
It's a good book. I like it. But of course, the Cicerone certification for that server level too is a lot more focused on how to properly serve beer, maintain things, and kind of it's very focused on the a little bit more than it is about the history behind all the beer and everything. It's kind of it has a distinct purpose, and I would rather go to a place where people have had that, at least that education. Just as an aside, there's now a company in Portland, Maine that does nothing but run around and clean tap lines and go on Facebook and say, hey, we just cleaned the tap lines at Local 188. I'm like, yes! So I am super psyched that I can follow these guys around and go to the cleanest tap lines in town. But
it's crazy that they're everywhere are companies that just go and clean tap lines. They just don't put it on Facebook.
But the other thing, though, is that they are approaching the bars as opposed to the other way around. So it's not okay, I'm going to go to the phone book and have a guy clean my lines. It's they're trying, it's like their advocacy of trying to make all of the beer bars better. I don't know. I'm happy because I've bitched about that before, but this is an aside.
Which is pretty cool, no
Yeah.
matter how you look at it.
Right. So, I think we should probably briefly mention Beer Camp. I know that for the people who are listening on the audio, they're not going to probably get this before the Beer Camp stop in Portland, but they might hear it before the one in Philly, which is following, or the one in Mills River, North Carolina. So just putting it out there that the Sierra Nevada, the Multi-Stop Beer Festival is coming to town, to my town, on Friday. A lot of us have been enjoying the beers that are available in the special 12-pack. Have you guys had them all? Have you?
I
don't have a 12-pack yet.
Yeah, I've had most of them. I found most of them to be mediocre. A couple of them poor. I was very disappointed with the pack so far.
Right now I'm drinking the. Hold on. The Chico King Pale Ale. You might have noticed, those viewers watching, that my beer has mysteriously changed colors. So this thing
in Portland, Maine is the 5th stop on the 7th stop tour.
Yes.
It is actually I actually thought it was weird that it's a Friday night from 5 to 10.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why that happened, but I'm taking the day off for it, so it'll be fun.
Yeah.
I'm actually drinking a Tater Ridge right now.
Yeah, cool. But what I'm enjoying about it is that it's returning people to talking about beer from all over the place, and not necessarily just regionally. It's going to be a big fest. The one in Chicago was well attended. I have attendance stats that'll take me a minute to bring up if you really care, but it's been an interesting fest, and I know that what's happened, at least in Portland, and I don't know if this is probably true of the other cities, because all the other cities that it's gone to so far have been bigger than Portland by a long shot. The last city was Chicago, which is huge. We have a lot of events that are rallying up to it, so there's kind of two takes on it. There's either the feature the Beer Camp stuff, or feature Sierra Nevada, or there's the, hey, feature Maine beer, because there's going to be people that are from out of town that want to, try what's going on in town. So there's a lot of tap takeovers and really cool events going on this week, just even leading up to the fest. And there's even a couple scheduled for the day after. Allagash is hosting a brunch over at Slab, which they're calling like the hangover brunch on Saturday morning, which I think is funny. And it's just, what I'm enjoying about it is that it's bringing some people from out of town to visit our area. There was a version of the pass that you could buy that would allow you entry into all of the things, so there's a couple people that are kind of doing the whole thing up. A lot of the brewers from different breweries are coming to pour their own beer. It's not just like their sales dude. And I got the chance to talk to Rob Topham from Allagash about it, and he was all excited that he gets to see all of his friends in the brewing world. He went out to Chico and I believe Denver, and we'll be going to the Portland one, and then the last one in North Carolina. But it's an interesting fest, and I hope that they do it again. People keep asking me, are they going to do it every year? And I'm like, I don't know. But I don't know. You guys have any thoughts? So neither of you guys are coming back for the fest, are you?
I'll be there.
Make it.
Oh, you're gonna be there. Okay, cool.
I'll be there. I find it. While you were just explaining about the festival, I just looked at the list of breweries that are expected to be there, and there's currently 119 breweries on the list that are expected to be there. From what I've heard, I'm not sure if all 119 will actually be there.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of back and forth about some brewers that are not making it to all 7 stops, and one of the stops that a couple of them have been pulled out of has been Portland. So there's a little bit of like, oh, everybody's pulling out. It's not nearly as bad as people say. We're not getting Russian River's Pliny the Elder, but they are going to be pouring the Slab. We are not getting Hill Farmstead, but it's not because of anything other than the fact that they don't have enough beer. So there's a couple of things that people are disappointed they're not going to get to drink those whale beers, and I'm like, that's not what this is about. I don't know. To me, that's not what it's about. 119 breweries. You need to go explore some shit.
Yeah. The only complaint I heard was that when they first announced these beer camps, that they were saying every single one of those breweries would be at every single stop, and that hasn't been the case.
Right.
But the fact is that doing it during festival season, during most breweries' busiest times, is probably impossible for them. But I can understand if you bought the tickets at the beginning, because I'm just using it as an example. Deschutes is going to be there, they're never here, and they're not there. I can see being a little disappointed if you bought that under the impression that all 12 other breweries were going to be taking part, but it still looks like a fantastic festival. You're still going to have a great time.
And I have to say, like, I understand that, like, if that was the main driver of you coming to one of these fests, but the other thing is that if you're really, really, really concerned about getting a specific beer, you could have held out and waited longer to buy your ticket, too. So, I think there's going to be plenty of great beer to be had. It's not all, it's not just like, the 10 breweries you see at every fest. It's going to be 119 breweries. It's ridiculous. They've, the grapevine is the area they're having it over at Portland is this like complex that they're eventually turning into a circus school, but they've actually paid to put a tent. There's been this metal structure outside that's basically a skeleton of a building for a really long time, and over the last 2 weeks they have put a entire roof on it, and that's going to be part of where the festival is held. They've got parking for a ridiculous amount of cars. They've got shuttles going on, so they're doing a really cool. It's going to be a big thing. So I hope that anybody that's coming, if you see either John or myself or anybody that you know, please say hi. It's going to be a good one. So I'm sure you'll hear all about it from us in the following week. But yeah.
Perfect, and that's Friday night, 5 to 10. 5 to 10.
Which is also a really long time. 5 hours is a long fucking time. So. You don't get a good beer in 5 hours from 119 breweries, then you just what's wrong with you?
It'll be interesting to see how many people are there.
Yeah, I'm curious too.
So,
it's not sold out. If people are still looking for tickets, you can still buy them.
Norm, you know what Carl and I are doing this weekend. What do you got coming up?
This weekend I don't have a lot going on. I have a book signing at Harpoon on Tuesday night. They're doing a Friend of Harpoon event, so everyone who's coming is already prepaid. They're getting a book, they get beer, they get pretzels, so it's gonna be fun. Other than that, not much. My first magazine article from Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine about brewing Baltic porters with Jack's Abbey should be in stores pretty soon, so look for that.
Great. I'll look for it. Not sure where I'll find it, but I'll look for it.
Everywhere.
Go ahead.
Just a quickie. Every week you guys ask me what's coming up in the upcoming week, and I always talk faster to try to get all the events in that are going on. So I made on my own website a calendar of main beer events. So if you go to thebeerbabe.com/calendar, you can see what's going on in any given week. And I have a lot of contributors that are helping me keep that really updated. I was getting frustrated with not being able to keep on top of stuff. So if you're coming up to Maine and you want to know what's going on, just check it out. Most of the events this week are all beer camp related, but after that, there's a lot going on. New brewery opening in the beginning of the first week of August, etc. But check it out. I won't waste too much more time talking about that, but lots happening, always.
And I just want to mention, for those who are into mead,
I like mead.
Saturday is the Homebrewers Association or the Brewers Association National Mead Day. So while you're recovering from that beer camp hangover on Friday night, enjoy a nice aperitif per se, as with having a mead. And then I'll also mention that in the following week, which is August 7th, which is a next Thursday, is National IPA Day. I know we'll probably talk more about it next Wednesday, but it is what it is, and that's the date. That's all I got. Anything else, Norm? Carla?
Nope, I'll shut up about IPAs till next week.
I'm all set.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us tonight. We've completed our episode of the Seacoast Beverage Podcast. Cheers to, unfortunately, Mike Meredith could not come with us tonight, join us tonight, but he shall be with us next week. And cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching.